A bag of chips looks simple. You open it, eat a few, and move on. But behind that small bag is a surprisingly big system. Chips connect potato and corn farming, food chemistry, factory automation, packaging technology, freight, branding, retail psychology, and global competition. In other words, chips are not just a snack. They are one of the clearest examples of how modern food industries turn basic crops into mass-market everyday products. One recent industry estimate puts the global savory snacks market in the hundreds of billions of dollars, with chips and crisp-based snacks as the biggest product segment. Introduction to the chips industry. When people say chips, they usually mean thin, crispy packaged snacks made from potatoes, corn, or similar ingredients, then fried or baked and seasoned. In the broader snack food industry, chips sit inside the savory snacks category, alongside products like pretzels, puffs, crackers, and other salty packaged snacks. What makes chips so important is that they are easy to transport, easy to store, easy to flavor, and easy to sell almost anywhere, from supermarkets and convenience stores to vending machines and online grocery. That is a big reason why chips became one of the most common packaged snack formats in the world. What chips are and why they became so popular. At the most basic level, a chip is a crop-based snack designed for crunch, flavor, shelf stability, and convenience. The product looks simple, but it works extremely well for modern life. It is portable, ready to eat, strongly flavored, and easy to share. Survey and market research on modern snacking also shows why the category stays strong. Busy schedules, on-the-go eating, taste, convenience, and growing interest in better-for-you options all shape how people snack today. Chips fit right into that behavior. History and evolution. The history of chips is more complicated than the popular legend makes it sound. Britannica says the invention of the potato chip is traditionally attributed to George Crumb in Saratoga Springs in 1853, when he supposedly responded to a complaint by slicing potatoes very thin and frying them until crisp. But Smithsonian notes that the story is not that simple. An earlier recipe for fried potato slices appeared in an 1817 cookbook, and some historians argue Crumb may have popularized chips more than fully invented them. That makes the best version of the story this: potato chips likely did not appear from nowhere in a single moment, but the Saratoga story helped turn them into a cultural icon. What matters for industry history is what happened next. In the late 1800s, chips began moving from restaurants into grocery retail. Early sellers stored them in barrels or large containers, which often led to stale and broken chips. Packaging changed everything. Britannica and Smithsonian both point to Laura Scudder's wax paper bag innovation in 1926 as a key milestone in keeping chips fresher and more marketable. Around the same period, mechanical peeling and continuous frying helped make larger-scale production possible. By the late 1930s and into the mid-20th century, branded companies like Lay's helped turn chips into a national business instead of just a local novelty. Over time, the category expanded far beyond the original potato chip. Chips became a platform. Once factories, packaging systems, and retail channels were in place, companies could make potato chips, tortilla chips, corn chips, kettle-cooked chips, baked chips, stacked or fabricated chips, vegetable chips, and later premium or health-positioned versions. That is one reason the category has stayed strong for so long. It keeps reinventing itself without losing its basic appeal. Types of chips. Classic potato chips are still the core reference point for the category, but the modern market is much broader. There are thin fried potato chips, thicker kettle-cooked chips, baked versions, and fabricated chips made from processed potato dough, with Pringles being the best-known example of that style. On the corn side, there are tortilla chips and corn chips, which rely on different inputs and processing methods. Then there are vegetable chips, lentil or pea-based crisps, protein-forward snacks, organic lines, gluten-free products, and premium flavor-driven products. The point is that chips are no longer one product. They are a product family with different price points, textures, health claims, and target audiences. Raw materials and ingredient supply chains. The chips industry begins on farms. For potato chips, the raw material is not just any potato. Processors care about size, firmness, shape, defects, and how the potato behaves in frying. USDA grade standards for potatoes for chipping show how specific those requirements can be, and Potatoes USA's National Chip Program shows that growers and processors actively test and develop new chipping varieties to meet production needs and consumer expectations. That means the chip business depends on agricultural specialization long before the factory stage begins. For corn and tortilla chips, the supply chain centers on corn, oils, and seasoning systems. Across all chip types, oils matter a lot because they affect texture, taste, cost, and nutrition. Then come flavor systems, which may include salt, cheese powders, acids, spices, sweeteners, or other functional ingredients depending on the product. Finally, packaging materials are also part of the raw material story because without the right bag and barrier properties, the product loses freshness, crunch, and shelf life. In other words, a bag of chips is not just agriculture. It is agriculture plus ingredient formulation plus material science. How chips are made in modern factories. Modern chip manufacturing is highly standardized because consistency is everything. In a potato chip plant, potatoes are received, sorted, washed, peeled, and sliced. The slices may be rinsed to remove excess starch, then fried or baked, seasoned, cooled, and packaged. The process sounds simple, but large factories depend on tightly integrated equipment for feeding, grading, washing, peeling, frying, seasoning, inspection, and packaging. Equipment suppliers describe entire lines designed to move from raw produce unloading to finished packaged snacks at high speed and low cost. Food safety and quality control are central to this process. In the United States, FDA rules under 21 CFR Part 117 require current good manufacturing practices plus hazard analysis and risk-based preventive controls for human food. At the same time, manufacturers have to manage color, breakage, flavor consistency, oil quality, and chemical risks such as acrylamide. USDA research notes that acrylamide forms in processed potato products when reducing sugars and asparagine react during high-temperature cooking, which is why potato variety, storage, and process control matter so much. This is a good example of how even a simple snack turns into a chemistry and process control problem at industrial scale. Industry structure and who makes money. The chips industry works like a chain. Farmers grow the raw crops. Ingredient suppliers provide oils and flavor materials. Processors and manufacturers convert those inputs into finished chips. Distributors and wholesalers move the product. Retailers decide placement, promotion, and pricing. Consumers create the demand signal that drives the whole system. Within that chain, there is a major difference between multinational brands, regional brands, and private label products. Multinational brands usually win on scale, marketing, and distribution reach. Regional brands often win on local loyalty or distinctive flavors. Private label wins on price and retailer control. Some of the biggest global names in chips and snacking come from PepsiCo, Kellanova, and Intersnack. PepsiCo's portfolio includes Lay's, Doritos, and Cheetos. Kellanova positions itself as a global snacking company with Pringles among its major brands. Intersnack says it operates across more than 30 countries and had more than 45 production sites with over €4.5 billion in sales in 2024. Together, those examples show how powerful large-scale snack manufacturing has become. Consumer behavior and demand. People do not buy chips for one reason. They buy them for convenience, flavor, habit, comfort, sharing, and impulse. IFIC survey data shows that busy schedules and on-the-go lifestyles strongly shape snacking behavior, while Circanus says consumer priorities now increasingly combine flavor, health-conscious choices, and macroeconomic pressure. That helps explain why the market supports both indulgent products and healthier-looking alternatives at the same time. Consumers often want pleasure and permission in one bag. Demand also changes by place and channel. Supermarkets and convenience stores remain central, but online grocery is growing fast. One recent market estimate says online retail is the fastest-growing channel in savory snacks. Social occasions matter too. Chips are deeply tied to parties, sports viewing, lunch add-ons, and casual group eating, which gives the category strong seasonal and event-driven spikes without making it purely seasonal. Market size, growth, and trade-exact market numbers vary depending on who measures them and how they define the category, but the direction is clear. Industry estimates place the global savory snacks market in the hundreds of billions of dollars, with chips as the leading segment. One recent estimate says chips and crisp-based snacks held just over 38% of global savory snack revenue in 2025, while overall savory snacks are expected to keep growing through the end of the decade. That growth is tied to convenience, premiumization, retail expansion, online channels, and changing eating habits. Trade adds another layer. Snack foods can travel well compared with many fresh foods, which creates export opportunities, but branded chips still face tariffs, shipping costs, shelf space battles, and tough local competition. A USDA Foreign Agricultural Service market brief on the Philippines shows how a strong snacking culture can create export opportunity, while tariffs and regional trade advantages still shape who wins on shelf. In practice, chips are global, but they are also very local. Flavors, price points, and brand trust often need to be adapted market by market. Packaging and distribution. Packaging does much more than hold chips. It protects freshness, supports product dating, signals brand identity, and helps the product survive storage and transportation. PepsiCo says packaging must balance food safety, product quality, environmental sustainability, affordability, and convenience. That one sentence captures why chip packaging is such a big deal. The bag is not decoration. It is part of the product. Distribution is just as important. PepsiCo's 10K explains that for direct store delivery products, freshness and product dating regulate how much product gets shipped, and company employees place products on shelves while managing inventory and shelf space. That tells you something important about the economics of chips. Making them is only half the game. Getting them onto the right shelf, at the right time, in the right quantity, is just as important. Health and nutrition concerns. Chips also face obvious criticism. Many products are high in sodium, calories, and fat, and they often sit inside broader debates around highly processed foods. EFTA's proposed front-of-package nutrition label focuses specifically on saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars, which shows where regulatory attention is moving in packaged food. NIH research has also found that diets high in ultra-processed foods can lead to greater calorie intake and weight gain under controlled conditions, though that is a much broader category than chips alone. So the health conversation around chips is real, even if it is sometimes oversimplified. That pressure is one reason brands keep reformulating. The market now includes baked chips, reduced fat lines, lower sodium products, vegetable-based versions, and gluten-free products. In the United States, FDA says foods labeled gluten-free must contain less than 20 parts per million of gluten. So even health-positioned chips are part of a regulated labeling environment, not just a marketing trend. Sustainability, industry challenges, and the future of chips will be shaped by three big pressures at the same time: cost, health, and sustainability. Crop prices can swing. Oil and packaging costs can rise. Consumer tastes can shift quickly. Health regulation can tighten. Private label can squeeze branded products. And packaging waste remains a serious issue. EPA data shows that containers and packaging make up a major share of municipal solid waste, which is one reason food companies keep talking about recyclable, reusable, or compostable packaging. Large companies are already responding. Kellanova says it is working toward 100% reusable, recyclable, or compostable packaging by volume by 2030. PepsiCo says packaging must increasingly balance food safety with environmental performance. Intersnack frames sustainability as a core part of how it wants to operate across its supply chain. At the same time, market researchers point to premiumization, health-forward snacking, online growth, localized flavor innovation, and even AI-enabled product development as future growth drivers. So the chip industry is not standing still. It is trying to stay familiar and new at the same time. The chips industry matters because it brings together almost every part of the modern food economy in one everyday product. Agriculture provides the crops. Food technology controls texture, safety, and flavor. Packaging protects quality and sells the brand. Retail decides visibility. Marketing creates loyalty. Global trade expands reach. And consumer behavior decides which products survive. That is why a bag of chips is much more than a casual snack. It is a small package built on a very large system. And the future of that system will depend on who can best balance taste, price, health expectations, sustainability, and speed in a world where even the simplest foods are becoming more engineered and more competitive. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. Then tap the bell icon to turn on all notifications so you never miss any of our future videos.